All right, looks like we've got a few people here so far. Should we just wait a minute before starting? Okay, seems like there's a pause in the people coming in now. So I don't know. Well, first, I want to say thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. Really excited to see so many people interested in our honors language programs. Really fun stuff. Well, my name is Ray, and I'm one of the coordinators on the West Coast. So, joining y'all from San Diego, and I'm joined by three lovely other people. So, my other co-host coordinator, Madeline, and then we've got Sebastian, who did our honors program in Sevilla, and then Isabella, who did our honors program in Madrid. Um, so yeah, thank y'all for being here with us tonight. Um, yeah, so it looks like everyone who's gonna trickle in slowly, yeah. All right. Well then, moving on. First off, a little bit about us, CIEE as an organization, and a little bit about our history. We've been in the game for 75 plus years. We are one of the oldest and largest organizations in our field. We are also a mission-driven nonprofit. We support over 30,000 students every year. And kind of going off that, we also administer the largest scholarship fund for US high school students. So with over 6 million in funds to give out every year. So super duper exciting. And kind of on that, here's a little map of our locations, our program locations that we got. So I want to take a second for everyone to look at it and kind of think, oh, where would I want to go? You know, um, Definitely, we've got all of our general programs, but obviously, because we are in the honors language info sesh, want to highlight the programs in Sevilla, Madrid, and Rennes. Um, so great. Um, and then so a little bit in general about our language programs. So we offer 8 languages, which you can see there. That's Spanish, French, German, Italian, Arabic, Japanese, and Mandarin. So quite a few different ones. And now for our French and Spanish programs in particular, we do have a requirement of 1 year of high school language courses. And then, of course, since you're here for the honors program, for the honors Spanish and French programs, you do require at least 2 years of high school instruction. But all our other programs are open to beginners. Um, so with all of our language and culture programs, they have a homestay aspect. So you can expect to live with a wonderful family while you're on program. Um, and then you'll be taking a pre-program stamp test that lets us put you into um, language classes of 16 or fewer students based on your language level. And then kind of going off of that, um, since you'll be taking a pre-program STEM test, you'll also be taking a post-program STEM test to demonstrate the growth that you've got done on program. So that's 1 month with CIEE equals about 1 year of high school of school instruction. Typically on our programs, we see that with the 4-week programs, students have major language gains. So what they learn and how much they grow in 1 month is about equivalent to what students can possibly learn and grow in 1 year here in the with the U.S. high school instruction. Um, and then, of course, the 4 college credits, which you can get from our the accredited Tulane University. And then on top of that, the global seal of biliteracy. So really, really exciting stuff. And now, what's different on an honors program? So like I mentioned before, for our non-honors programs, you need at least 1 year of, if you're doing the Spanish or French, you need at least 1 year of language instruction. But for the honors program, you do require at least 2 years of language instruction. Um, so what that means is that on program, you really only see intermediate and advanced speakers. So these are students who are really serious about, being in that target language, are really wanting to maintain the target language when they're, interacting with other students in their daily life while on program. They even sign a pledge at the beginning of the program. Um, and really the honors programs are geared towards like a higher level of proficiency and definitely wanting to maintain that level of challenge as well. Um, and then apart from this, the honors program, the students kind of function as a separate cohort. So honors program students in their homestays and in their classes, they're only grouped with other honors students. And then, as well as the feedback on your classes every week. And then now a little bit about a day in the life. So the honors program classes are going to look pretty different from what a regular language class in the US looks like. So classes are typically less than 16 students, and they're obviously grouped by a language level. The classes are localized to they're localized to the specific region that the classes are in. So, for example, if you are taking a class in Sevilla, the language, the specific language you'd learn, kind of geared towards like the what you would get in like a regular Sevilla city kind of sound. So pretty interesting. And then on top of this, the classes are conversation and task-based. So it's a little bit less about, learning all the different verb conjugations and more about having real, genuine conversations. And then after class, you can expect to do a community event. So going out in the community, practicing what you've learned in class. So an example of this would be going to a local restaurant and ordering in the language. Um, After class, you can expect to do a cultural activity. So, for example, it may be a cooking class, a ceramics workshop, or even like a dance class, for example. Um, and then finally, at the end of the day, you're reinforcing what you learned throughout the whole entire day by, having a conversation with your homestay and talking a little bit about what your day was like. And now on to words from our lovely alumni.
Before we go there, sorry,
Mhm.
I just want to verbalize this. I got a question in the chat of someone asking if a freshman who applies for one of our French or Spanish programs, particularly an honors program, if they could still apply because they obviously wouldn't have the like 1 or 2 years yet. What you could do is test into one of our programs. I will put the link in the chat. Anybody can apply, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, can apply to our French and Spanish programs. You could test into it, and that's just having a conversation with one of our French or Spanish speaking staff members, and they will determine if you're eligible. And I will send some information on how to book that call in the chat. But sorry for interjecting, Ray.
Right. No worries, no worries. So then, yeah, from our alumni.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Sebastian, and I studied in Sevilla for 4 weeks over the past summer. So I was with the Honors 2 program. With my Spanish program, I think it's similar for all the rest. It's divided between two honors levels. You have Honors 2 and Honors 3. Honors 3 is the premier group with people who are close to, if not already fluent in the language. And Honors 2 is for people who are really got a good grasp on it, but aren't necessarily at fluent yet. And I was part of that Honors 2 group. And the big thing that differentiates people who want to participate in an honors program between those who go in the standard uh, Spanish language and culture one is you're going to be taking a language pledge, which is a lot more. They take it pretty seriously. You're going to promise to stay in your target language in the designated times, which is going to be during classes and excursions. And the whole point of this is to really maximize the amount of time that you're speaking that target language, mine being Spanish, throughout the day. And by doing that, you're going to be able to see growth in your lingual skills. And it can emphasize enough how important it is that you stay in the language. There have been people who had consequences for not speaking the language during class or during excursions at night. And it's not meant to scare you. You know, if you lean over to your friend and ask them in English, hey, what does this word mean? Or something like that, they're not going to have a problem. But if you're signing up for the honors program with a motive to learn your language, so you're not going to want to show up and just be speaking English the whole time. They're going to understand that you've been speaking English your entire life, and there's going to be plenty of times where people are going to accidentally slip, or you'd have to say a sentence to a buddy in English or something like that. They won't have a problem in it, but with it. But the more you speak Spanish, the better off you'll be, and that's not just for yourself, but it's also for your performance for the class grade, whether you get a certificate, and how well you'll end up performing on the stamp test at the end of the year, at the end of the your session. And depending on how well you do perform on the stamp test, you might be able to earn the Global Seal of Biliteracy, which is really nice. I got the functional fluency one, which is the lowest out of three levels. You could earn the next two up are working fluency and professional fluency. To get the working fluency one, you need to have completed 11th grade English. But any of them are good to have down under your belt buckle if you can earn it. So you want to really strive to speak the best. And you can see some of the pictures on the slideshow right now. Those are some that I took while I was in Sevilla. All those are Sevilla except the cannons. Those were in Granada. So the program that we went on two different trips to different cities. Most of our time was in Sevilla, but we did 1 day trip to Cadiz, which was a beach town, and a 2 day trip to Granada. And like was mentioned earlier, all these trips or excursions at night are always going to be around other honors students. There are going to be a couple times where you'll cross heads with the people who do take the Spanish language and culture courses, but that's rare. You're really going to be around people with the same level of ambition and uh, language grasp as you. So it's a motivating environment and encourages a lot of learning. So it's a great thing. Do you mind pulling up the next slide,
Yeah, of
please?
course. Here you go.
So these are a bunch of classmates. The very top left picture is my class specifically, the Honors 2 class, where down and to the right of that, you can see there's more people in it. That's the honors program as a whole. So that's two classes, Honors 3 and Honors 2. So all the pictures are us on some type of either class activity or excursion. When I say excursion, um, what it would be is 9 in the morning. You would get to your class, wherever that be in Sevilla. It was like a 20-minute walk from where I lived, and that class would last until 12. It didn't feel like 3 hours of school. It was enjoyable. You're learning Spanish. You had a break time where we'd stop and get coffee, and the coffee in Spain's incredible. And after that, we would do something that was called Misión Niña, which is we would leave the class and speak to locals for an hour. And this would be in the form of interviews, asking them questions about different topics per day. And we document that and send it to our program leaders for grading. And we'd have free time between then to explore the city with friends or eat more food. Uh, there's going to be a lot of food eaten down there. And then excursions at night. Almost every night, there's going to be some sort of trip. That might be a tour of the cathedral or taking tours of other monuments that they got down there. There's a lot of cathedrals again in Spain. It's very religious, but and it might be to an amusement park. It might be kayaking, like we did in Rio Guadalquivir, which there's a picture of us kayaking in the bottom, I think. Uh, your host might take you places at night because might take you places because the curfew is around 10 p.m. But as long as you're supervised by your host, if he or she is willing to take you places, they might. But another thing about hosts, especially with the honors programs, is that there's a very reasonable chance, to my understanding, that they'll speak very little, if any, English. And that was the case with mine, and that was the case with most of my classmates. And that's perfectly fine because they're usually experienced with hosting students and familiar with the concepts that you'll be able to communicate with them, and they're very helpful and willing to help you learn, and they're patient with you. They understand that you're a student. You're never going to be made fun of. You're never going to have to feel worried when you're trying to communicate with them. They'll take their time, you'll take your time, and it's always going to be constructive for you. So it's overall just a really good environment to learn in. And if you're willing to commit to speaking your target language as often as possible, you're guaranteed to see growth by the end of your program. That's my spiel.
Thank you for sharing. And I believe this is Isabella.
Hi, my name is Isabella. I'm a senior in high school and I went to Madrid over the summer. I was in the level 3 class and I stayed with a homestay. I think the most important part and the most exciting part about the program, about the honors program, is the constant immersion. You're always speaking Spanish. So my program was just a little bit different because of the weather. So my excursions were actually in the morning. So I would go to the school at 9 and then we would go to the excursion. And then we had a little break. We had our Mission Enye, same thing where we were talking to people. That's another thing that it's really nerve-wracking, but it helps so much. So Mission Enye, you have to every day or close to every day go out in the community and have a conversation with someone, with a local Spanish speaker. And it's really nerve-wracking, but it helps a lot. Like it helps you with your confidence, and people are really nice and they understand. And if they don't want to talk to you, just no thanks. And then, it's okay. But and then after that, we went to class and we were out of class at like 4:45, I think. And then after that, it's just time to explore the city. Me and my friends, we would always, after class, so our curfew was also at 10. After class, we would just walk around the city. We'd go to different metro stops, just ride like to random metro stops to just explore. And you get to learn a lot about it's really great. Like I was with my friends for like 12 hours a day from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 10 p.m. And so you build lifelong relationships. This picture of me and my friends, we all still talk to this day, like very often. So it's really cool. And then my host family was really amazing, and I'm still in touch with them. They also didn't, they spoke very little English. So it was difficult to communicate at first because I'm not fluent, but it really like my Spanish improved a lot. I earned my seal of biliteracy, the functional one as well. And the middle here is my class. So you can see it's a pretty small class. There were 10 of us. And then it's my teacher and my program leader, who we all loved. You have a program leader who's in charge of you, making sure you're safe and that you're staying in your target language. And it's just really great. You build a really close relationship with all of these people. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
All right, well, thank you for sharing. And I do see that we have a few questions in the Q&A, so we can go ahead and take those. I think this one is for Sebastian specifically. The question is, what would you say was the best place you visited in Sevilla?
Best place in Sevilla, I would say, was probably the main Sevilla cathedral, especially the tower La Giralda. The whole place is amazing because it's Sevilla. It's very walkable. Like a lot of places in Spain, the cities are very compact. Like nothing that I've seen in the U.S. Like you think of New York City, you think walking's big down there. It's not even close. Well, some people are on the West Coast. They don't think of New York, but um, very, very walkable to a point where taking your own personal car is a rarity. So, you go to the cathedral and just the skyline's empty because all the buildings have to be shorter than the cathedral. That's written in law. And there's not a single car. Everything's just clean. It's electric transportation or walking. And can I answer? There's a person asking about the honors group. Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so there's the advanced honors group. So I think you're talking honors 3 and honors 2. Those are the two honors classes. Honors 3 is technically the highest one that you could be in, though that's not saying you're going to get the most out of that class. It varies between the student. Like if I were to be in honors 3 over the past summer, I wouldn't have gotten as much out of it as I did in honors 2 because I wouldn't have understood what's going on. It would have been like a deer staring into headlights, and vice versa for a kid who should belong in honors 3 being in honors 2. They'll feel like they're not learning anything because it's too easy. It's not at their level. So how difficult it is to get into the uh, that's not the right wording. Not the difficulty of the class isn't the important part. It's where the group feels is appropriate for you and where you feel is appropriate for yourself to be placed.
Great, thank you. And then I see we have a hand up. I'm not sure if that person would like to.
JK is the person. Do
Mhm.
you want me to allow them to talk? I can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I went and asked them to unmute. So JK, you can unmute at any time. Or you can type it in the Q&A feature. Up to you. Or maybe their question is answered.
Okay. I guess while we wait to see if JK maybe types their question. Did want to ask you guys, ask both you, Sebastian and Isabella, if you could give one piece of advice, concerning the language program and your successful on program, what would that advice be?
I would say don't be afraid to sound dumb because when you're not fluent in a language, you're gonna be nervous and you're gonna be afraid that you're gonna mess up. I think the biggest lesson that I learned while I was there is that it's grammar is important, of course, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You really have to you learn how to get your point across, at the very least in that language. Because for my host family, they didn't speak any English, and so I was forced to, you know, um, try everything that I knew, and it was okay. It was fine that I didn't have the perfect grammar as long as I was understood, and then you learn with that, and then you get corrections and everybody is very nice about it. They know, okay. Um, so I would just say don't be afraid to mess up.
The biggest thing I could recommend is stay in your target language as much as possible. The whole point of going to another country is for the complete immersion. And again, there's going to be times where it's just irresistible to break into English with your friends if you need to, but really, the more you speak language, the more you're going to grow. That's the big thing that they're going to very frequently emphasize to you, and they're doing it for a reason. That's how you're going to build yourself up really well.
Thank you. And then I see someone asking about the Madrid program in specific. Do students ride the metro alone? I know we have a few questions when it comes to transportation and traveling. So maybe Isabella, can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. So, yeah, that was something that I was actually really nervous about because I live in Texas and we don't have a metro. And so, we don't really have public transportation like at all except for like a school bus. So, I was really scared because I'd never really like traveled completely on my own. But yes, you get a metro card, so unlimited. You get to go on the metro as many times as you need. And Madrid is really clean. The metro is like brand new. It's really clean. It's really safe. And yes, you are allowed to ride it alone. I mean, you need to for class in the morning sometimes. It kind of just depends where you live. But yes, it's very safe, very clean. But yes, you're going to use the metro a lot and the buses. The card works for the buses too.
Great, thank you. And I see we have another participant raising their hand. We can go ahead and allow them to talk. So Holly, I'm not sure if you're there, but if you are, spotlight's on you for a sec. Or you can always type your question in the chat. Can go off and answer it there. But I guess while we're waiting, we do have another question. So someone asked, how much freedom do students have? So maybe you guys can touch a little bit on that about independence on program, and then I know someone was worried about curfews, so a little bit there.
Yeah, I think the freedom could vary a little bit between programs, but usually I would expect 3 to 4 hours of freedom daily. If people are familiar with it, Spain, they have siesta time where everything in the middle of the day kind of shuts down. So that freedom would be between when we finish our after class Mission Nenye, which is the interviews with locals, and that would usually lead up until the excursions. And the excursions would be later in the evening. And by the time the excursions are done, we would have a little bit of free time, but it's nothing really substantial. Usually we would go straight to our homestays for curfew, which I think was around 10:30. Yeah, I think I remember curfew being around 10:30 or 11, and that's enforced by program leaders. They make you send selfie proof of your location. And the curfew is very strictly monitored. But if let's say your host wants to go and take you guys to dinner or something, they could do that as long as they're supervising you, especially in countries like Spain where everything is very much alive at night, because some areas could be so hot during the day where normal dinner times in Spain could be even up to midnight, which sounds nuts, but it happened frequently.
So it's actually a little bit different in Madrid. If you're interested in Madrid, because it is so hot in the afternoon, the excursion is in the morning. So we would have the excursion right away, and then Mission Enye, and then class. And we didn't really have any time to explore really in between all of that. But that means that you're finished at like 4:45, and then that's it. And then you have the rest of the day until 10 o'clock was our curfew all the time. And that's it. I mean, you're after 4:45, you're completely free to do whatever you want. That's within the rules of the program, of course. And then at 10 o'clock, you have to be home, and that was it. So we had a lot of free time to explore.
Great, thank you. And then I see another question about Sevilla. So when you were in Sevilla, would you say that you were able to understand the language a lot more than you did back home?
I was able to understand a lot more. I think they talk slower than a lot of the people who speak Spanish over here. And again, now that I'm back home, I'm speaking it a lot better. I could communicate with family. I have a whole side of my family that's from Mexico and speaks only Spanish. And my mom gets annoyed now because I say words in Spanish that don't exist in Mexican Spanish, and she does vice versa. But for the most part, yeah, uh, it's all growth. Everything's been improved. So I would say the Spanish in Spain is understandable, but it's definitely different if you're talking about different dialects.
Okay. And then another question for both of you. So why would you guys why would you personally recommend traveling to where you did? So Sebastian, why would you recommend to Sevilla to someone? Isabella, why would you recommend Madrid?
Madrid is beautiful, but it's also very culturally significant because it is the capital. Also, the metro is very clean, so public transportation is really very easily available. So it's very easy to get around. It's a city, so there's lots of places to eat and lots of places to shop. Um, and it's like the main, I don't know. I feel like it's a very important part of Spain's culture, so.
Sevilla, the big thing a lot of people like about it is it's extremely small, very, very small and very compact, extremely walkable. If you were, you can't, but if you were traveling by car around the city, you would probably find that as an inconvenience. Walking is the best way to get around there, and it's incredible. So you're constantly outside walking, getting fresh air, and everything down there is beautiful. And like the rest of Spain, the food's really good too. So very, very walkable, very condensed. And like Isabella said, the public transportation is very clean and reliable and easy to learn if you need it.
Great. And I guess kind of on that note too, what do you guys miss the most? Is there anything in particular that now that you're back in the US, you think, I really miss this from my time in Spain?
Honestly, I think that it's so walkable and that you can get anywhere and that the public transportation is so easy to use. I think that's what I miss the most, just kind of being able to go out and explore and do it pretty easily. And we were walking like 4 or 5 hours a day, like total, with the excursions and at the end of the night. So it is really walking is a big thing, but it's also the thing that I miss like the most about just being there.
Pretty much the same exact thing that Isabella said, being able to get anywhere whenever you want. Some of you might be seniors or juniors and you could drive. I was a sophomore going into junior year at the time, so I can't drive. Well, no one will be able to drive. Okay, I'm talking in the States. Like, I don't have a car. I can't drive, so I can't do anything. Compared to Sevilla, I could just text up my friends, hey, you want to go get a burger? No, not a burger, Spain. You want to go get tapas or something? And they could say, yeah, sure, whenever. Well, assuming you're on free time, you could just very independent down there when you're able to walk. And same thing, very walkable. It's a nice little bit of freedom that you might not necessarily have in the States, or at least I don't to the same extent.
Okay, and then I see a question here about excursions, and maybe you guys can both talk a little bit more about the excursions that you guys each did while on program.
I had two excursions. So we had a day trip to Segovia, which is a really beautiful city. It's very small. And then we had a weekend trip, like a 2-day trip, an overnight trip to Valencia, which is by the beach. Very beautiful. We went to two different beaches. Um, that's like the excursions. Oh, the excursions. Oh my gosh, wait. I was talking about, okay, there's like two different excursions. There's the everyday and then there's like the weekend ones. So those were like the weekend ones. And then the everyday ones are going to be the pottery classes, the um dancing, the cooking, the like we toured stadiums, we toured like just like very culturally significant places. I mean, there was a place every day. So yeah, I'm not sure which one, but that's both of them.
We had two main excursions, which were to Cadiz and Granada. Cadiz is a really big beach city, so we stayed there for a day. First, we took a tour of the whole place and spent some time on the beach before we went back to Sevilla. And Granada was a 2-day excursion. So we got over there, checked into a hotel, got all set up, and first we took a tour of the city, which was awesome, and then the second day we went to La Alhambra, which is old Islamic palace. It has all this history behind it. Got taken over by the French. It was fun. It was cool. The one thing that you want to look into, this is kind of off the subject. It was a big deal in Sevilla and Granada. Not sure how it was in Madrid. Depending on what time of the day it is and where you're standing, it could be like you're in a microwave. Like it would get up to 110 degrees, and some days that we would look at weather.com in disbelief, but you could feel it. So some of you might be used to that. I don't know where you live, but it was a real shocker for a lot of us. So you always you want to adapt to that. You want to bring appropriate clothes and make sure you have a decent sized water bottle.
Really, really great advice. And then I kind of going off of this excursions now a little bit more. Do you guys have like a favorite memory or anything that, when you talk about your time over the summer, something that you always like to mention?
So before studying abroad, I'd actually never been to a beach before. So going to Valencia, that excursion was really exciting for me. Like we went to two different beaches. They're beautiful. I mean, it's Spain. So like that was my favorite thing because I've never been to a beach before. So
I really liked the kayaking trip that we did in one of the one of the rivers down in Sevilla. We went in the evening, and I think we passed like 2 or 3 hours on kayaks in the river and raced. That was a lot of fun. And what made it more fun is people would throw themselves off the kayaks, thinking like, "Oh, they have life jackets." There were a lot of people who couldn't swim, so that was funny. So they would just they were fine. They would just float on their back, and so we'd have to get off and like pull them back onto their kayaks. So you know, it was all everything very safe. Like they weren't in danger, but it's just you had a enjoyable time helping each other out.
Okay, and then we have a question, how much time is spent with host families? So maybe you guys can talk a little bit about, how much time you guys personally spent with host families, with your host families, anything that you guys did that was special, or just a little bit about what your experience with your host families was like.
Personally, I did not. I thought I was going to spend a little bit more time with my host family than I actually did. Um, we have the first weekend alone with your host family, so they take you wherever they want. Or you can stay there and hang out with them. But after that, there's excursions on the weekends, and then if your curfew is 10 o'clock and your host family doesn't want you to be home super early, or you don't want to go home super early and you want to stay out till 10, then really all the most of the time when you're going to be talking to your host family, it's going to be at dinner. Um, and they also have in Spain, they have sobremesa, which is conversation basically at dinner. So dinner can take hours depending on your host family. For me, it was pretty short actually, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna spend a good amount of time with them. They're in charge of you, but it's not super nerve-wracking or anything crazy.
Yeah, so kind of like she was saying, host family, the amount of time you spend with them can vary depending on if it's a large family or maybe it's just one person, what kind of job they have. I know some people who barely saw their hosts at all. And that's like contrast to mine, where I would see him every single night and we'd have dinner together. Uh, there was one weekend out of the 4 weeks that were reserved just for you to spend time with your host family, and everyone did except mine because he got COVID. So we spent that our own separate ways. But aside from that, I got to spend a lot of time with him, and that was good because every day in class we would be assigned some sort of question or topic to discuss with our host, and we'd bring our notebooks, and after lunch, after no, not lunch, dinner, having some basic discussion with them, we would get into our academic stuff and get that out of the way. But the time with the host was very no pressure at all. They're there to help you, and they understand that you're learning.
Great. And then I see we have a question in the chat about the language pledge. I know we've talked a little bit about it, but you guys want to talk a little bit more about the language pledge and how that kind of impacted you guys on program and that sort of thing?
So the language pledge basically just says that you're going to do the best of your ability to stay in the target language. So that especially is, in place when you're at school, when you're around your program leader, when you're around like your teacher, your program leader, they're all going to speak the target language and nothing else. Of course, if there's an emergency, or you really need to get a point across, like there were some people in our program that had an emergency in their house, you're allowed to, of course, speak English because it's, you need to express what's actually going on. But they do highly encourage you to always speak the language, and then when you're out with friends and stuff, also be speaking the language, even though you're not necessarily being watched.
Yeah, the pledge. Once you get into the application, you'll see they kind of have a 3 strike system where it's not meant to scare you. You shouldn't be scared by it. But in my language course, we had what we jokingly called the English naughty list, because there were some people who would consistently break into English. And this wasn't them saying a couple words in English or just asking, like, hey, could you say this real quick? It was them, we're in the middle of an excursion and they're just freely talking to each other in English. And all they're asking is you stay in your target language, ours being Spanish, during class and during the excursions. And the rest of the English could be during your free time or when you know a teacher isn't listening at that time. So it's really it's not difficult to follow the pledge. You just got to make a little bit of an effort, but don't take it lightly either. You're taking the pledge because you're expected to be able to uphold it if you're taking the honors course, and you should be, because the pledge isn't there to annoy you and keep it strict. It's meant so that you could really get the most out of your course, because it's only 4 weeks, and uh, that could be a lot of time or very little, depending on how you spend it learning.
You great answers both. Um, And then I guess we're nearing the end. So one question that I do want to get to ask you guys is, how do you guys both look back on your experience? So, I mean, did it change anything for you? Any like future plans for you that you decided now post program?
I I think about it every day. I look back in the pictures like very often. I loved it. I loved my time, everything about it. And yes, actually, I wasn't planning to before, but now I think I'm definitely going to study like a minor or maybe even double major in Spanish in college.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the program now really, really encourages me to keep up with Spanish. I communicate with my family over the phone that I live in Mexico a lot more often. And yeah, very frequently find myself reminiscing on the experience. It's like something I've never experienced in my life. Still talk to friends that I met down there. I got to meet one over summer when we took a vacation. He lived there. But yeah, it's something that you won't forget anytime soon, if ever.
It's great. I'm really happy to hear that from both of y'all. Um, it seems like we don't have any more questions in the chat, so kind of moving forward with wrapping up. Um, so kind of as a reminder, if you submit your application by December 1st, you're automatically entered into a raffle to win a free flight. So that's super duper exciting and a really great opportunity. Um, and then, as a reminder of like our scholarships and the deadline for that. So like I said before, we've got about 6 million in scholarship funds to give away, and you can definitely expect to see that scholarship deadline January 24th. So definitely try to get your applications in by then. And then yeah, so here's the QR code to sign up for more of our sessions for the virtual fair. So if you're interested in other programs or any of the other information sessions, definitely do sign up. We're going until Thursday, so yeah. And yeah, like Madeline said, if anyone has any more questions, please feel free to raise your hand or use the Q&A feature, and we're happy to answer those for you.
I'm also
Okay.
going to, sorry, I'm also going to put some resources in the chat if you want to read more about these specific honors programs. We have a great website that lays out like more about the destination, what students will be doing, activities and stuff like that, as well as dates and fees. So I will put that in the chat as well.
No, thank you everyone for attending. Really happy to answer all those questions, all those fantastic questions that everyone had. I think we can wait a little bit to see if anyone has any questions, like any of these, any people staying after a little bit. And then we can go ahead and close out the session. But thank you guys both so much. It was really fantastic hearing from both of you.
Of course.
I was a little biased to hear Sebastian because I lived in Sevilla. So thank
Same.
you. I was like, oh yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, it was a great time. Thanks for letting us onto the fair.
Oh, and Isabella, I don't know if you went, but this is like a very obscure thing, but there was this taco shop that I loved in Madrid. They would sell these like €1 tacos, and it seemed like the only place in Spain you could get tacos. I don't know if they took you on the program, but there was always like a line around the corner.
Was it like, I think it's Tiki Tacos?
Yes,
I went there
yes.
so many times. It was so good. I
So good. It's
love
like
that place.
real tacos that you could get, like
Yeah.
real authentic. I'm from Arizona, so I really needed that while I was there.
Yeah, I love that place. It was so good.
Sebastian, while you were in Sevilla, did you ever get to the chance to eat any of the Mexican food there?
We did go to one place. It wasn't very good.
Oh,
But yeah, no, all the Spanish food we got to have what was incredible. The paella was weird because they told us the paella is really like a tourist trap. That in Sevilla at least. Like if you're getting it
yeah.
there, you're getting ripped off because they don't eat it down in Sevilla. That's what they told us. But we spent more time than we were proud of in the McDonald's and Burger King over there because some of the menu items they got that we don't have here, we were like mesmerized. It was beautiful. So yeah, we ate a lot.
No, it was really good there. The McDonald's there was like pretty good and kind of
That's
expensive too
real. That's
compared to
real.
everything else. So
Yeah, a little bit, and it takes like 30 minutes for them to make your order, but the
yeah.
precision and correctness that is unmatched. Like I watched a lady put a slice of cheese on my burger and it wasn't centered, so she like panicked and she took the cheese off and recentered it. Like
Oh,
that's how dedicated they are to their craft. It's beautiful.
that's sweet.
That's super funny. I think one thing I personally miss are the churros. They're super different from
Oh my
Mexican churros.
gosh.
So
Con chocolate. Yes.
yeah,
I miss that
yeah.
too. In the morning, the little like shot, like the little carts that would have the churros.
Oh yeah.
I miss the little coffees where it would only be like 2 sips in the thing, but it's
Oh my
like getting
gosh.
punched in the face with awakeness. It's great.
It
Oh,
was
I
good.
loved the
And
coffee
it
there.
was cheap. It was like a euro
Yeah,
50.
Mhm.
we were at a coffee shop when during break for class we walked over there and the guy asked us, "Oh, do you want to drink it to go, or do you want to drink it here?" And we all said to go because we didn't know if we had to go back to class soon or not. So we get our cups and we sit down at this table. And he stops what he's doing, walks around his counter, and yells at us for getting the paper cups instead of reusable mugs. So we're like, "Come on!" And then we just walked out, went to class with our coffee to not make him
Oh,
disappointed, but it was like, yeah, it's funny.
that's cute. That's funny though. I don't know. I know there's a really good one in Madrid, but did you all ever go to like those big markets where they had like the different food? I don't want to say vendors, but like food vendors. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Actually, on my first day, like so the first night we spent in a hotel, and then the next day the host family picked us up, and like immediately my host family took me to one of those markets and like met like 10 different families. There were like so many people like
Oh,
on this market, and yeah, they ordered like from like the different stands and stuff. Yeah.
Yes,
live
I used to love
hours.
those.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Overall, what was like your favorite food while you guys were out there? Like a specific dish.
I had a lot of tortilla de patatas or tortilla española. I had a
Yeah.
lot of that. And that honestly was probably my favorite. Like my host family would give it to me like every other day, but it was good.
The favorite food in general was really what my host would make me, because this guy, he was a professional sculptor and artist, so everything was very perfection to him, and he was like Spanish Gordon Ramsay. It was incredible. Every night he would make something. It was awesome. But looking past the food that he made, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Cien Montaditos. That was
Yeah,
cool.
Seville and
And
Madrid.
what was better though was the place. I think it's called the El Patio or something.
Patio. What did they
It,
have there?
Yeah.
similar to Cien Montaditos, but I think it's a franchise. There were two or three in Sevilla, but it was way smaller than Cien Montaditos. Well, I can't even say that. I'm talking size like franchise wise. I think they were smaller, but my host took us there, and it was it was a level up. It was a little bit less, almost like fast foody in a way, but same thing. Montaditos, really good.
Yes. Oh, there's a question. Are students able to wear masks in crowded public places or indoor public settings? Yes, you are definitely able to wear a mask. I'm surprised none of you said patatas bravas. I was waiting for one of you to say that.
Those are good. Those are good. So, Madeline, not sure. Should we hold on another 2 minutes for it to be 8, or should we go ahead and close out? I'm not seeing any other questions.
I think we're good, but I will put our email. Is it up there? Okay. I'll put our email and our phone number in the chat if you have more questions. Today we want to get more into like the alumni's experience. I know some of you would probably have like logistical questions, so you can give us a call and ask or email us. We are open from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. We will be out next week for what is it, Thanksgiving,
Thanks.
from Wednesday to Friday, but you can give us a call. I'll also put our bookings link. You can book a call with one of us enrollment coordinators, somebody like me or Ray, and you could book a call with your state's enrollment coordinator. I know Ray works with folks in Southern California and a few other states, and I work with folks in Southern Texas and a few other states. But if you want to speak with your state's coordinator, you can do that. And I put that link in the chat.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. It was super great to hear from both you, Sebastian and Isabella. And yeah, thank you so much. And thank you,
Thank you.
Madeline,
Have a
for
good
the
night.
support.
Of course.
All right. All right. Well, bye.
Adios.
Bye.